Hello, RWorld. Welcome back to another episode of RWorldTalk. We have with us this morning Rob Thomson with Waterfront Properties. Super interesting guy. We're going to have a fantastic conversation this morning and let you in on what Rob is all about and tell you about some exciting facts about him. And I am excited to kick it off. Rob, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Rob, you moved to Jupiter in 1962, so you've been around for a little while. Where your parents were instrumental in building community of the once considered small town of Jupiter. In fact, your mom coined the brokerage name Waterfront Properties. Why don't you tell us how you got started in real estate?
You know, when I first got started, when I was a kid, I was detailing cars, and most of the people I detailed cars for were real estate people. They were pulling in Cadillacs and Mercedes and stuff, and we're detailing their cars, and I'm like, these people are driving really nice cars to do what they're doing, and my mom was doing it, and so she was a great teacher, and so I learned everything. And so much of what we do today is a teaching from her that we've modified into a digital era that it's amazing. She's 92. She just fell and broke her femur. Oh, now she's in the hospital, just had a massive surgery, and literally within an hour of the surgery, she's talking to me about the new buyer-broker agreement. So she's 92 and still all in and reads every contract we write.
Wow.
So she's been an unbelievable mentor, and she's still mentoring agents at 92 and teaching them how to organize their outlook and how to do contracts and how to negotiate, and gets involved with negotiating deals daily.
Okay. Well, Mom, if you're listening, we're very sorry to hear about your fall. We hope that you get better really soon, and thank you for raising a really awesome guy. Rob, why don't you tell us, with all of your experience and years selling real estate in South Florida, how has the market drastically changed over the decades? Because we know real estate's cyclical. There's been lots of things going on. I'm sure you've seen a few markets, but what's changed, and what principles seem to remain the same?
You know, it's over the years I've seen the market drop and come back and stuff, but Florida's pretty much always on a climb. There's a couple of little dips here and there, but nothing, major. At the end of the day, what happened with COVID in 2020 is it just went insane. The great wealth migration is what I call it.
Right.
You have New York, Chicago, Illinois, New Jersey, California, all the states that have state income tax. They can't afford to stop charging that, or they'll go broke, because people have left their state to come to us. We are the Caymans of the United States. People are now moving to Florida to save their taxes in epic levels. So, I don't see an end of that in sight, but it's changed massively. With that said, during the first 3 years of COVID, we were white hot. Today, the market's red hot. It's still extremely good. Have we seen some changes? Yes. Is it going cold? Not.
No, and not especially up in Jupiter. That's certainly a highly sought after market for sure. I think that you just coined a new term, the Caymans of the U.S., and I got a feeling that after this podcast comes out, we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be using that term moving forward.
It's so true.
It's very fitting, very fitting. What are some new trends that you are seeing? You're in luxury real estate primarily, but what are some new trends emerging in luxury real estate and some possible hurdles that you could share with our viewers?
With the whole new buyer broker thing that's happening, we're seeing a lot more people that are, wanting to call the listing broker directly. Mm-hmm. We see quite a bit of that. That seems to be a trend. I think there's going to be, a lot of brokers that don't do business frequently withdrawing from it or becoming referral agents, because there's a lot of new stuff to learn. And not a lot of brokerages are teaching it yet. And it's not one of those things that's going to happen. It's here on our doorstep.
Right.
So we're 2 weeks away from it. So
right.
I think that's going to be a big change. The buyer agent, for many years, the buyers thought of them as someone that, it's my wife's friend or their kid or whatever, and I'm doing them a favor to ride along and take half of the listing agent's commission. With the buyers now looking at the agent like, well, tell me why you're a value in this, that doing your friend or your friend's kid or whoever, your tennis partner, a favor, that's going to go out the window. It's going to become more like the listing agent. The listing agents always had to prove their value and show why they're a asset to the transaction. The buyer agent, not so much in the past. And I think now you're going to see buyers saying, why should I hire you? What's your why me story?
Right. We actually just did a podcast on the buyer brokerage agreement, the changes that are happening with the MLS, the commissions being removed from the MLS. And the one point that I kept trying to drive home to everyone is make sure that you're working on your buyer presentations to show and articulate that value that you provide to the transaction. You've got to be able to show the buyer that you're worth every penny that they're paying you. And what you had mentioned about people going directly to the listing agent, I've spoken to quite a few listing agents that said, I don't want to work with buyers. You know, if I'm representing the seller in this transaction and I've got a buyer who wants to come directly to me so that way they don't have to pay anybody, why am I going to work both sides of the transaction? You go and hire a buyer's agent to represent you so that way I can negotiate with the seller and not know all of the things that, know all the terms of what it is that you're willing to do and how far you're willing to go. Go and find somebody to represent you. Have them do the work. But let's bring this transaction together as opposed to me working both sides of the transaction and doing double the work for the same amount of money.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't think that the listing agents, especially the good ones, are going to do both for half.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen at all. I don't think the commission part of it's going to change all that much. I think that, good agents are going to get a lot stronger and weak agents are going to get crushed. I see buyer agents, I see agents running for the shelter of companies that have more. Let's face it, a lot of people go work in places where there's no story to it. You just keep a lot of commission. The days of keeping a lot of commission and having no services and no story, those are over.
We've been telling people to craft that story and tell it as much as you possibly can for a few years now. And I think people are now realizing the importance of being able to tell that story and what kind of value you provide.
The problem is in a lot of places that they work, there's no story to tell. If you look at what is it you do besides stick it in the MLS and wait for somebody else to sell it,
right?
That can't be the story moving forward. The story moving forward has to be a real story of real value. You have to tell people how you're going to market it. And if you're working with a buyer, you're going to have to say, what is it I'm going to do for you that's different than anybody else that just drives you around and lets you buy a house?
Right.
Because in today's world with a lack of inventory, it's never been more important to have a marketing team that goes out and calls them, emails them, looks up all the databases. It's a nightmare just trying to find all the phone numbers and email addresses and everything of all the owners so you can chase down a property that's off market. With a lower inventory, the marketing department no longer just works for the seller. With a low inventory, the marketing department's now working for the buyer and the buyer's agent. So how do we find you a property before it goes on the market and before you have to compete with 100 other people looking at that same property? That answer that agents have worked with buyers forever that says, this is the worst answer you ever give a buyer in your lifetime, which is, I'll let you know when something comes available. Or they could say it accurately. I'll let you know when something comes available and make you compete with everybody else and you'll probably lose it and everybody's going to be upset. How do I find you that property before it goes on the market so you don't have to compete?
Great point.
That's a great service by a buying agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rob, your career in luxury real estate has obviously opened many doors for you, from yachts to philanthropy work, just general giving back to the community that you've gained so much from. So how has your experience in real estate influenced your perspective on community involvement? We know that you had just, let's have you answer that question, and then I've got a little follow-up. But how has your community, your experience in real estate influenced your perspective on community involvement?
The community's been so good to us for so many years. You come to a point in your business career where money is, when you're younger, you need money to take care of your kids and to put them into college and do all the different things. Well, after a while, at a certain level of success and being blessed by the community, you don't have that personal need of it anymore. And you start saying, okay, thank the people in the community that helped me get where I am? I can only buy so many cars and so many boats. I mean, you start to say, how do I give a part of that back? And growing up, my mom always taught us it was never ours to keep. It was just ours to manage.
Okay.
And so giving back to the community, real estate really became, I was always really passionate about real estate. And then it became the vehicle that helps me do what I am passionate about. That makes sense.
That makes a heck of a lot of sense. I feel you right there. So being able to do what you are passionate about, let's get into that a little bit, because where I was going previously was the first time that I met you, we were at Florida Realtors, and you were called up on stage because you won the Florida Realtors Humanitarian of the Year award. And locally, I have won that award, so I know how special something like that is to be recognized for the work that you're doing and the stuff that you're passionate about. And somebody says, you're doing a really good job for the community. So let's get into that. You're currently the vice president of Big Dog Ranch Rescue in Loxahatchee, which if you haven't heard about Big Dog Ranch, you must be living in a cave, because everybody knows about Big Dog Ranch down here. But Big Dog Ranch, known around the country for its work, and has saved the lives of more than 59,000 dogs and still counting. So what are some of the connections you've made through Big Dog Ranch? And why don't you give us first a little synopsis of what you're all about?
The Big Dog
Ranch, yeah. Big
Dog Ranch is the largest non-kill, cage-free dog shelter in the world. Saved 6,500 dogs in the last year.
Wow.
It does so many things. I like to say it's not just about dogs, it's about people. As an example, we're training 100 dogs for a year for war veterans, people with PTSD and stuff. These dogs are amazing. If a war vet is panicking and, starts getting all nervous, the dog jumps up on them, starts licking them and breaks them out of whatever scared them. If they're sleeping and they go into a night tremor, dogs will literally go over and flip the light switch on and wake them up.
Wow.
So the dogs are highly trained, and these guys are blessed when they get one of these dogs. It's really a special place for war vets. But we're also building a building right now for active military that are deployed to house their dogs, because a veteran, when they get deployed, a lot of times takes their dog to the pound, the dog gets put down, they come home to no dog. Bad situation, right?
Horrible.
So we're going to take care of their veterinarian needs, the grooming, their feeding, everything while they're gone. They come home to a healthier dog. So Big Dog is so much about so many different things. We're doing 50 surgeries a day out there. 2 vets, 9 vet techs. We do stuff for the elderly. We have senior section for the senior dogs and the senior people. Training dogs how to be gentler and smoother and calmer with a senior.
Okay.
So we do a lot of different things for a lot of different people with those dogs.
And you said just in the West Palm location that you've got over 100 people that are working there?
I think we have 180 presently. So it's a big employer for our community as well.
That's incredible. Thank you for the work that you do there. Dogs are near and dear to my heart, and we were talking offline about ways that I'd be able to hopefully help you guys get some more food donations coming in.
We would love that
to help the vets. When you got into the vet assistance, American vets, that's something that should be near and dear to everyone's heart for what they do for our country, and the work that you guys are doing there at Big Dog Ranch, being able to assist the vets when they come home is phenomenal. So thank you very much for that. Let's get into your yacht brokerage, which is something new that I learned. Holly Meyer-Lucas was just on our show last year. She had mentioned that sometimes her buyers are less interested in the home itself and more concerned about the home catering to their yacht, which I've actually experienced before. Yeah, you need the dock. Do you find that true? And how busy are yacht sales these days?
Yacht sales has been great. Joe Kelly is my partner. He's like my oldest son. He was my boat captain since he was 18. And we're like, we got to get you past the boat captain and grow you into a business.
Okay.
And he's built it into an amazing business. He's got, I think, 40 salespeople there. And
wow.
And it's turned into quite the business. But so often we have somebody selling a house that has to sell a boat, or we have somebody buying a house for that dock.
Yes.
And Holly's right about that. And she's a friend of mine, great girl. But at the end of the day, they need a place to put the boat. And we have people coming to Admiral's Cove that will buy a $3 million condo so that they can get further up the line to get a slip in the marina.
Really?
Oh, happens regularly.
I've actually had calls in the past from yacht captains, and they were really the point of contact. It never met the purchaser of the home. It was, you work with the captain. When the captain finds the slip for the boat and you show him something that's going to have the proper dockage available, I'll buy the house. Well, okay, well, what's your budget? I don't care about the budget. I need a place to park the boat. And you're literally buying a property just to have a boat slip.
Imagine having a $10 or $20 million, 120, 130 foot yacht and not being able to have it here.
That's correct.
So you have a massive yacht you can't bring here. That massive yacht is very hard to place. It's very hard to find a property that will hold it. So they are literally looking for a dock, not a house.
Right. Wow, that's incredible. We got a lot of money down here in South Florida, don't we?
Put the staff in some of these houses.
Yeah, I've actually I've heard quite a bit about that with
pilots and captains.
Everybody's just staying in the boathouse if they have one, or they're living somewhere else, and they've got the crew just staying in this big, gorgeous mansion. It's incredible. I'm in the wrong business. We've got a lot of realtors who tune into the podcast that are always looking for insights, some tools, some inspiration. What key business takeaways have helped you with your business so that your business can thrive, that you could share with our listeners and our viewers?
A lot of it's very simple stuff. I met with the old CEO of Starbucks and spent a couple of days in Seattle with him. And the biggest, most impactful thing he said to me was, he said, you have to decide. He said, when people come to Starbucks, he said, what do you think people come to Starbucks for? I said, coffee. He said, no. People come to Starbucks for an experience. Coffee's 50 cents. The experience is $5 or whatever he said it was. And he goes, you have to decide whether you want people to have a transaction or an experience. So do you want them to be an evangelist about you? You have to give them an experience they don't forget. Simply creating a transaction where they buy a house, that won't get them to refer you and build your business for you. And they can be the best salesperson for you ever if you give them a phenomenal experience. And that was very impactful to me. And, we were already headed that direction anyway, but he made it so much more clear in my head that you have to make people know that they are so much more important than the transaction.
Right.
And when you can accomplish that and you can place them first over the sale, it's not the commission that matters, it's the experience. Because along with that experience come many sales. They will keep referring you and refer you with passion if the customer is always first.
Right. Yeah. A lot of times we see somebody who is trying to sell somebody a home.
Bad mistake.
A huge mistake. I'm a broker myself, and whenever I see that somebody is trying to push a transaction forward, it's like, you're doing this all wrong. You need to introduce somebody to a lifestyle and show them that lifestyle in a way that they don't want to leave until they know that they've secured that lifestyle for themselves. It's not about selling somebody a home. You have to show them what it's like to live here in South Florida, what their life is going to be like in that home. It has nothing to do with signing the paper and pushing it across the table and getting them to agree with you. We're not talking about used cars here. We're talking about a lifestyle that that you can show somebody, this is within your budget. I can make this happen for you, and this is how I'm going to do it. And give them that experience that you're talking about. That's a totally different way of doing business.
Yeah, when you enrich their life, they'll enrich yours. They'll reward you plenty with their referrals if you focus on them and not your commission.
Absolutely. Yeah, that commission should never be part of the equation. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but these days we're talking a lot about those commissions and signing documents about commissions in order to even get the transaction started and start that relationship. But certainly get that out of the way and put it in the past and forget about it, and then go and try to find that lifestyle and listen to that customer and get them whatever it is that you could see that twinkle starts in their eye, and find a way to make that a reality for them. So I know that you're a busy guy. We're going to let you get out of here, but I like to ask this question of all of our guests. There's many hidden gems in South Florida, whether that be a favorite restaurant, beach spot, a park, anything that's worth checking out. You've been here since 1962, so I'm going to guess that you probably have quite a few hidden gems that you could share with us. But what is your hidden gem that you could share with our viewers?
They're not so hidden anymore.
Okay.
Well, I just love the Jupiter Inlet area. The Jupiter Inlet, is most people know is the closest spot to the Gulf Stream, and so that blue water that just pours in is amazing. Whether you're at the Square Grouper or 1000 North or any one of those restaurants right there, that spot with a lighthouse looking over to me, that's the signature of our area.
Okay.
If you said, what do you look at when you think of Jupiter? That's what I think of when I look at Jupiter, and just being on that water, going to the sandbars is amazing. But if you said my most favorite spot is take the boat, my favorite thing to do is go pick up dinner at 1000 North.
Okay.
And anchor on the Loxahatchee River at sunset. Do you remember the movie, you might be too young for this, On Golden Pond? Oh, you're too young.
I have not seen it.
On Golden Pond was a movie, he knows it, when we were kids, that showed this beautiful big lake, and these people camped on this lake, and the lake would explode with beautiful sunsets.
Okay.
The Loxahatchee River explodes with an amazing sunset. You go anchor up on the river and sit there and watch that sunset. It's just amazing. The fish are jumping, and you'll see tarpon roll, snook going through. You'll see a manatee. You'll see the osprey fly through and catch the mullet. And if you're lucky to be there during the mullet run, you feel like you could step across them. It's amazing. You see hundreds of thousands of mullet come through. But the river itself is very scenic and very beautiful. And the river at sunset, go anchor on that sandbar. It's amazing.
Okay. Well, guys, if you want to buy Rob here a beer for all the work that he does over at Big Dog Ranch, taking care of the dogs, taking care of our vets, go ahead and do so down at the Square Grouper, 100 North. Jump on the Loxahatchee River, check out a sunset. And Rob, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
All right, guys, we'll see you right back here next week, Friday, 8 a.m. on RWorldTalk.